Hello and welcome to Fox Sports Lab NRL. I'm Eloise Sawyer and with me are NRL greats Josh Morris and Chris Lawrence alongside stats guru Tim Williams. Now there is a buzz in the air that means just one thing. State of Origin is just around the corner. Let's get to our experts to see how the teams are shaping up. We love this time of year, gents. Let's first of all chat. Who's impressed most through the first 7 rounds that's earned a debutant, do you think?
Well, I've been singing the praises of Gamble Graham for probably the last month now. I think defensively as a centre, he's probably one of the better ones in the game, and his attack, that right edge of South has been dynamic and he's been a feature of that. So I think you could easily play him in the centres and move Turbo to the wing, and that still gives them a lot of strike power out on that right edge.
You agree in Campbell Graham getting a spot this year?
Yeah, I think Campbell Graham's the man, especially with Josh Addo-Carr going down injured. He's out sort of long term, so I think that does open a spot there. Whether it is the wing or centre, I don't think it really matters in the sense that we saw in the World Cup for the Kangaroos him spend some time on the wing where he killed it there. I prefer him at centre, as Josh mentioned, that defensive presence. He's so aggressive, up and in your face. I think he's tailor-made for Origin. He can obviously cover both positions. I think he's the man.
You spoke about that, you probably prefer him at centre, and that's probably the biggest thing. Like, you look at the centres and the people probably in front of him, you know, Turbo and Latrell, you're not going to leave them out of the side. Where do you fit him in? And that's the thing. Is it more important to have a specialist winger defensively or to have someone in the centres who, you know, trains there week in, week out, understands those movements and works with the halfback? That's probably the only thing I'm thinking about. Where do you fit him in? Because you obviously got to have Latrell and Turbo and they're going to be there and work out from there.
From my point of view, I think a specialist centre, you need defence for those defensive structures and the way you defend certain structures. And if you're a centre, it certainly helps. I think the wing, you can kind of just read what your centre does and follow in, and I think that can kind of suit Turbo, as well as being able to float in attack whenever he wants to as well. So I'd probably rather see a centre play there than a fullback.
Do you think if you put Turbo there, does that give him more opportunity to spend more energy in attack and then, you know, save a bit of the juice? You know, used to playing fullback and covering a lot of distance. Is that your thinking there?
Yeah, I think so. I think if he's on the wing, he can float in whenever, and as you said, he's not playing fullback, so he's not having to run as fast, so he becomes a whole lot more potent, definitely.
Well, let's talk about someone who is going to be playing, or perhaps potentially playing at fullback, and that is, of course, Reece Walsh, potentially getting a call-up for Queensland. Who do we pick here, Ponga or Reece Walsh?
Well, I think at the moment you've got to pick Reece Walsh. I mean, Ponga has been there and done it. You know, there's some certain guys that can come in off, you know, very little football and do a job and have proven they can do a job. But I think it's a massive risk with, you know, how many head knocks he's had over the last couple of years. And, you know, do you go in planning that if he does get a head knock, what's the plan B? You don't want to be doing that and thinking that. Given the form Reece Walsh is in, you know, picking guys in form who have that confidence. He was in around the squad last year from memory and I think just got injured, otherwise he would have made his debut. The question is going to be, you know, how many weeks do they give, you know, Kalyn an opportunity to play? If it's 1 or 2 weeks, you know, if he's coming with no football at all, I think they probably go with Reece, but if he gets a couple of weeks of game time, it's going to be a really tough decision.
Tim, if you're Billy Slater, are you picking Kalyn Ponga?
As a New South Wales fan's sake, perspective I should say, I hope they go with Reece Walsh because I can't believe you're saying against Kalyn Ponga, a bloke who pretty well, I shouldn't say single-handedly, but not far off, had beat the Blues last season. He can move back to fullback there. He's back for the Knights this weekend, so he can get 3 or 4 games under his belt. Now, provided he gets through the stretch through to Origin 1 okay, I think he's like set and forget fullback for them. You talk about being able to have a plan B for it and the risk around the concussion. They've got Val Holmes who'll be there at centre. They've got Kurt Capel in the back row who can slot in at centre, and Val can go to fullback if required. Now, you don't really want to have to do that, but I do think they're covered. And look, as I said, as a Blues fan, I hope Kalyn Ponga isn't there.
If he misses any type of game time next month with a head knock or an injury, do you just automatically rule him out then?
If he plays the week before Origin 1 and looks fine and good, which he will because he's a freak, I would pick Kalyn Ponga.
Josh, you're not liking these comments?
Yeah, I'm with Chris. I just don't think he's played enough football, and there is that every chance that he can cop a knock between now and then. How long does he sit out if he has another knock? And if he plays fullback, well then I've got no doubt that New South Wales will target him, and you could see him spending some time off. You've got Cobbo there as well that could potentially play fullback as well. So I don't think it's dire straits for Queensland if he doesn't play, but if he does play, he was one of their best.
Well, you look at someone like a few years ago, Boyd Cordner, someone who had a history of head knocks, came in and got a head knock early, and just what effect, you know, a senior player who had proven that could come in and play with injury, but when they did get injured in the game, what effect that did have, you know, and a large hole. And I look at Kalen as somewhat similar.
There is so much conversation to have. We haven't even mentioned Nico Hines and the form he's at to start through the 7 rounds. Just quickly, who out of Queensland and New South Wales is looking better of the two so far where we're at right now?
Oh, I think New South Wales, but there's a lot of footy to be played between now and Origin. I think Kaloa Matangi's probably a big loss as well. He was probably in line for a Blues jumper, but you know that gives someone like Ola Kawatu a chance as well. So I think over the next month we'll see people jump out of the box and get themselves their jumpers.
Yeah, absolutely. We're counting the sleeves until the first game in Adelaide on May 31st.
League is life. It's exhilaration, anticipation, highs and highlights. League is everything. That's why we've made a betting brand for League fans. That's better. Chances are you're about to lose.